What's up guys, welcome back to my channel. In this video I'm going to make this beautiful engineer square out of stainless steel and brass, and I also added some rivets for decoration. So without wasting any more time, let's get right into the video. Alright, so I got a sheet of stainless steel right here. I've drawn out my pattern, so the brass is going to slightly overlap the blade of the engineer square, and then this is going to be out of stainless steel, so I'll need to cut that out fully. Then I've got this piece of brass, which will be the handle, and then I'll be able to cut that out separately. This is the one I initially wanted to make, but I wasn't able to find any brass that thick. So I have to go with the second best option and stack them on top of each other. Like this one, but a lot better. Alright, so the first thing I need to do is just get ready to clamp down the piece of stainless steel so I can get ready to cut it out. I'm just using a normal hacksaw for this job, and it's going to be quite a long process because it is quite thick, almost 3mm thick I believe, and the hacksaw blade wasn't exactly the sharpest, so it took a really long time. This blade is very worn out. You can't really see it that much on camera, but I just need to go and get that replaced before continuing. Alright, so I just got a new hacksaw blade, 24 TPI, and I'm getting ready to replace the other one because it's completely worn out. So it'll just make my job substantially easier, and it will make it a lot quicker. So right there, I'm finishing off one of the cuts, and after about 15 minutes, it was only completed along one of the sides, which really annoyed me. So I had to do the same thing again, just on the other side, which was just as tedious. So I'm just finishing up the cut right here, and now I've got this L-shaped piece of stainless steel that is semi-resemblant of an engineer square, but there's still a lot of hangover on both of the edges. So I'm just going to be cutting that off in preparation to sand it down to its final shape. Alright, so I've got some 60 grit sandpapers for my 6-inch disc, and I actually found a really interesting way to get rid of the discs since they have a really strong adhesive. So if you were to get a small torch, you could just hold it up to the edge of the sanding disc and it will slowly loosen the adhesive. It shouldn't be on there long enough to burn the paper, but just long enough for you to see a little bit of bubbling underneath. And then after that, you can just peel it off with any sharp object. I just used a screwdriver and it was completely ready to come off. So now I'm just roughing it out, and I am just dipping it in water to cool it down because it's getting really hot. So this is just roughing it down to shape, and then I can use a file for the more finer details. So I've got one of my own engineer square here, and I've got the one that I made, and I'm lining them up against each other to see how accurate mine actually is. And as you can see, there's like no gap in between, which is perfect. I need to try and keep it exactly at that 90-degree angle. Alright, so I'm now at the stage where I can sand down the handle and get it to a perfect 90-degree angle. Then I can start cutting out the brass and making the handle out of that. So I've sanded down the blade of the engineer square to perfect 90 degrees. Now I need to do the same for the handle, but not perfect 90 degrees just yet. Just approximately 90 degrees. That way I'll be left with some space for finishing it up once I attach the brass handle onto it. So now I'm just taking it out and preparing to cut out the brass, and then measure its length so that it will fit perfectly along the handle of the stainless steel section. Now I'm just removing some of the burrs on the brass. It's not a significant step, I just don't like getting my fingers caught on it. Now I'm marking out the other piece so that they'll be exactly the same size, and I can just sand that down because it's 8 centimeters each. I just need to sand down up to that blue line. Alright, so I've marked it out and I've gotten ready to sand it down up to that blue line so that they're the perfect size. Now I can just turn off my sanding machine, get ready to mix up some epoxy, and then begin to glue down the brass onto the stainless steel. This wasn't actually that difficult at all. I just needed to make sure that it wasn't moving about when it was drying. Now the epoxy is just setting. Alright, that's finished drying. it's just got some excess epoxy squeeze out, so I need to sort that out. And then I need to start sanding this down, getting a nice brushed finish and finishing it up, but it's coming along really nicely so far. Alright, so now I'm just cleaning up all of that epoxy squeeze out and the bit of overhang for the brass and the stainless steel. I'm just using the sanding machine. I'm making sure to dip it in some water so that it doesn't melt away the epoxy or to get it to erode. I'm now at the stage where I can sand this inner section because that won't fit in between the sanding machine. So I will just file down the bulk of the material, then I can start sanding this down, then I can start getting it to the desired. Alright, I'm at the stage now where I can take off all of this tape and start revealing what it looks like. But if you're going to look along here, there and there, it's looking absolutely amazing. It's got a really nice finish. You can't even see any tainted epoxy in between the seams, and it's got a nice contrast between the steel and the brass. And then after I finish sanding this down, I'm going to put some rivets here just for design. It won't hold any functional benefits because it's already epoxied on, but I will have that out of steel for a bit more contrast. So I've cleaned up majority of it. As you can see, there's still some Sharpie markings over there, so I'm just cleaning that up, making sure that the engineer square is at a desired length, which I believe was 13 centimeters. So now I'm just working up grits with sandpaper up to around 800 grit sandpaper. I don't want it to have a polished finish, just a nice brushed finish. Oh my goodness, look at that. That's actually looking absolutely amazing. And the brass has a really nice brushed finish. I'll take it up to 240 grit because I don't want it to be a polish, just to get rid of the line streaks. Stainless steel is also looking nice with the brushed finish, and then I will be able to start making the rivets. Okay, so I'm preparing to make the rivets now. I don't know why I didn't put it on that steel block at first when I was marking it out, but luckily it didn't affect it too badly. So now I'm just preparing to drill out the hole that I can countersink, then get ready to place the rivets into. I've got my drill over there, and I've got all of the equipment I need to make the rivets. I was given these rivets over here. I don't exactly know what the diameter is, so I'm just approximating and making sure to test out that they're a perfect fit every single time I get the drill out. And luckily it was really nice, and of course I didn't need to glue anything down. I just did the same on the other side, countersunk it, and then getting ready to mushroom over the other edges. Alright, so I have finished mushrooming the edges over. I can now prepare to sand it down and give a nice finish onto the engineer square. It's looking quite nice so far, and I'm just finishing it up, making sure it's getting to that 800 grit sandpaper status, making sure I get rid of all the brush finishes and getting it to a desired finish. And it is looking absolutely amazing. Alright, this is looking absolutely amazing, and it's at perfect 90 degrees. I am actually really happy with this project, so please leave a like on this video, subscribe if you're new, also comment down below for any projects I should make in the future. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.